Charging more doesn't automatically make retreats easier or more profitable. In this video, I'll explain why charging more can't fix operational gaps and what actually needs to change behind the scenes. If you've ever raised your retreat prices and thought this was going to give you more breathing room, but it didn't, and you realized the retreat was just as demanding as it was before, there's a reason why. And it's not because you misjudged your value. So let's name the moment that probably feels familiar. You're in a coaching space, a conversation with other entrepreneurs. And the message is consistent. Raise your rates, double your pricing, trust your value. And at some point you took that advice. You raised your rates, you enrolled people, and you delivered an experience that was unforgettable. And if you remember thinking, I did everything I was told, why does this still feel so involved and so much pressure on myself? That question is totally valid. The promise usually attached with higher pricing is that things are going to get easier or they'll be simplified. That it will reduce strain and make work feel so much more sustainable. And when that doesn't happen, it can feel really disorienting. What's missing in that advice is that increasing the rates does change the revenue, but it doesn't change what's happening on the back side of things, like how the retreat is built and how it's carried. Here's the simplest way to understand what's happened. A higher ticket changes what comes in, but it doesn't change what comes out. Not financially, not operationally. If your planning still relies on unfinished decisions, if roles are still blurry, if vendor details are still coming together late, if you're still the default problem solver, those gaps don't disappear just because your price changed and increased. And this is where the frustration usually lives. You raise the price, and then you watch as the additional revenue starts to get eaten up by things that you didn't factor in. Expedited vendor fees, added logistics, extra help brought in close to the event, decisions made under severe time pressure. And if you've ever looked back thinking, oh, that's where it went, this is exactly what you're seeing. Your retreat wasn't built to hold the higher price yet. And that doesn't mean that the advice to charge more was wrong. It just means that it was incomplete. There are a few specific places where increased pricing fails to create ease. First, delivery costs that weren't fully visible yet. Even with a higher ticket, the true cost of actually running the retreat can expand as details get finalized, especially when fees, add-ons, and adjustments surface late. Second, operational friction. When responsibilities aren't clearly assigned and your plans aren't fully locked in, small issues require fast fixes, and fast fixes cost more. And third, workload that never shifted. If your prices increased but your roles didn't change, this retreat can still feel consuming to lead. If you remember thinking, I'm dealing with all of this, that's why pricing alone didn't change your experience. If you're planning a retreat this year or you've done one recently and want to have a clear understanding as to why raising your price hasn't simplified things, that's exactly why I created my free event systems audit. It helps you see where time, decisions, logistics, and support quietly drive up costs, even when your retreat looks successful on the outside. This isn't about motivation, it's about visibility, so go ahead and check it out down below. The shift that changes everything is this. Instead of thinking as pricing as the solution, professionals think of structure as the starting point. They map responsibilities, timelines, vendor needs, decision points, and workload first. And then they set a price that reflects that reality. If you've ever watched another retreat look smoother to run, it's not because the host cares more. It's because fewer things are being decided in real time. And this is the reframe that I want you to walk away with today. Your effort was never the issue. The retreat simply asks more from you than the structure allowed for. Here's the part that often becomes clearer after everything. When you raise your price and the retreat still had so much demanding for it to run, it wasn't because you did something wrong or that advice was incorrect. It's because the way the retreat operated once planning began never changed. The same decisions still needed to be made, the same details needed attention, and the same responsibilities landed on you. So even with the higher price ticket, the experience behind the scenes still stayed just as involved. And that's the distinction that most advice skips. Price affects revenue, but it doesn't redesign what's happening for the retreat day to day. And once you see that, it explains why the price increase didn't bring the relief that you thought it was going to. So the next question isn't, should I charge more? It should be, how do I make the workload, costs, and outcomes behave differently before I commit? That's exactly what we're going to talk about on the video on the screen right now. And if you're planning on adding retreats to your business, or you just want to learn more about events and how they run, go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss out.